Hello everyone, this is Tom the Shadowface, and today I'll be doing a review on the recently released Equalizer 2, or as well like to call it Denzel's first sequel, the movie. Now, first of all, I want to apologize for my long hiatus, as in I haven't done a single video since February this year, and it's really bad because there have been a ton of extremely good movies ever since then. And also, I had to change the channel name from TOG7 to Nigerian Nerd Squad. So, sorry for the confusion and everything, but I'll do my best to do a summary of the best movies of the year so far. But until then, let's get down to this one. All right. Now, I have to confess, the first Equalizer movie went unnoticed to me for at least a year after it came out. I didn't hear about it, I didn't even know about it. But by the time I watched it, I found that I seriously loved the movie. It was an awesome movie, awesome characters, terrific action. And like so many others, I was extremely pumped when I saw the trailer for the sequel, and upon release date, I was one of the first people to line up in the cinema to watch it. Now, a brief recap. Equalizer features a seemingly ordinary man named Robert McCall who works an average job in a mall, loves his neighbors, an average reader of books, and upon that, he has a penchant for beating up bad people, breaking bones, and dealing vigilante justice to protect ordinary people, all while on a 50-second timer, which was extremely cool, I'm telling you. Now the sequel sees him continuing this trend, but it's made more personal when his longtime friend and former handler, Susan Plummer, is killed by muggers while investigating a supposed suicide. Now, Robert goes from investigating her murder to fighting a group of highly trained assassins who are directly tied to his past. Now, like the first movie, this brings in a combo of fantastic fight scenes, solid characters, and tells a complex story that gives a direct insight to the past of our favorite bone breaker. Now, while the first movie focuses on Robert battling just one group of baddies to save one girl, this movie shows his vigilante mode in a more broad stroke as he helps several people who step into his cab, even attempts to be a mentor to a young guy. All this while investigating the death of his friend and fending off the assassins who are after him. The narrative also delves deeper into Robert's character, telling us the viewers of his motivation based on what he lost, the life he left behind, and why he chooses to be the way he is. He feels it's filled with high tension, fantastic fighting scenes, understandable villains, and a look into the psyche of our protagonist. It also has for me one of the smartest henchmen I've ever seen in a movie, who sees Robert beat up their guys. Instead of pushing for revenge, they wisely decide to stay away from the middle-aged guy who just knocked the snot out of two of their best hitters without breaking a sweat. Smart henchmen, the world needs them. All in all, it's a wonderful follow-up to the movie, but let's get in depth to what makes it tick. Now, while I enjoyed the movie immensely, there are a lot of issues that can and will interfere with the viewer's immersion in it. The first is focus. Like I mentioned before, the first movie's premise was simple. McCall meets a girl and tries to rescue her from a group of mobsters and a life of prostitution by basically killing everything in his way. The second movie has him dealing out his regular vigilante justice, but in several different situations. You have people like privileged kids who raped a young lady, a parent who kidnaps his daughter and runs across the border, gangbangers terrorizing local residents, and a Holocaust survivor trying to find the last remaining item from his family. Now, while these are good and when told properly would enrich the story as a whole, the problem is in this movie they seem more of distractions that seem to drag away from the main focus. I'm not joking. Denzel's character sometimes feels like a rag doll in the center of a tug of war between the main story and side stories. I mean, this movie shifts so much between locations so frequently that I got motion sickness at some point. Another problem I noticed with the movie is the villains. Okay, how do I explain this? Okay, let's go back to the first movie. The mobsters in the first movie, who were the main villains in the entire movie, were not stupid. They were just ignorant. I mean, Robert McCall doesn't look like someone that is in the least bit dangerous or imposing. He instead looks like a middle-aged guy that you can push around without problem. And let's be honest, these guys are mobsters. They thrive on pushing people around. Now, this was their problem. and their excuse for constantly underestimating him. Even towards the end of the movie, when the main villain shows up, even though he has limited knowledge of this guy and knows what he has done so far, you still see him underestimating the character with his overconfidence, and he can defeat him with ease. Now, that was their excuse. That was a plausible excuse. The villains in the second movie don't have this for one simple reason. They know who Robert McCall is. They know who he is because they've worked with him for several years, a long time ago. They know what he can do. They know how dangerous he is. They know how vindictive he is. They know what drives him. Yet these idiots constantly underestimate him from the beginning till the end of the movie. And it is annoying. All right, let me give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. Before McCall identifies this particular group as the ones responsible for the death of Susan Plummer, they find out that he is investigating and naturally sending someone to kill him. Now, the plan is simple. They send someone McCall doesn't know, probably a latest recruit from after he stopped working with them. The guy goes in, posed as a commuter in his cab, and they discuss for a while, and the plan is probably to kill him at a point where he's so seriously distracted by the conversation that he doesn't see the danger coming. Which I have to admit was a very, very good plan and a very good way to take this guy unawares. Or at least it would be a good plan if this guy, the assassin sent to kill him, wasn't so tensed and so obvious in his motives that he might as well have a signboard on his forehead saying, "I'm an assassin sent to kill you," and it's flashing in bright neon lights and stapled to the big forehead that this guy has. And if you thought that was bad enough, no, 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 no. That was just the icing on the cake. After subconsciously and obviously hinting that he's an assassin, what does this great assassin use to kill his target? Does he shoot a sniper rifle from half a block away? Of course not. That would be too simple. Does he use a car bomb, seeing as the guy drives a cab around, and that would be a very easy way to kill him? Of course not. That would be too simple. How about poison gas? Maybe as the guy enters the car, just throw poison gas, then rail the car with bullets or something like that. I don't know. No, all that is too extravagant. He needed something extremely simple and extremely effective. So, okay, that means the best option would be to use a handgun with a silencer, which would be very, very good, seeing as Robert is driving the car and he's in the back seat. No, this guy decides to go at him with a dagger. That's right. You are using a dagger, not even like a long-bladed dagger, a short-bladed dagger against a man who is well-versed in hand-to-hand combat and who is already suspicious of your intentions. This guy tries to kill McCall with a dagger, not even like trying to stab him from the back of the seat. No, he tries to slit his throat by leaning over the driver's side, and all in view of the rear view mirror. What kind of stupid idiot? By the way, a personal note, and this is directed at the casting directors. When casting a villain for your movie, especially one you intend to keep hidden from the audience until the last part of the movie, it helps out if you don't use the one actor that is usually the bad guy in such villainous movies. I mean, that just spoils the entire experience, for crying out loud. Another problem I found with this movie was more of a miss than an actual problem, in which it was easy to put a bit of mystery into the movie. It follows a particular sequence. Susan Plummer is investigating a suicide and is in the process killed. McCall investigates and finds out that the mugging was actually staged, as was the suicide she was investigating. And he seeks to find out who is behind it so he can bring them all to justice. Now, this would have made a perfect mystery that is slowly unraveled throughout the entire movie. But no. The director ruins it by telling us right away from the very beginning that the suicide was staged, and then thinking that we are idiots by trying to push her death on a mugging gone wrong. That's just stupid. And finally, the most obvious, most problematic, and by far the biggest issue with the whole movie is the pacing. This movie is slow as it constantly changes focus The stories are drawn and told in an extremely slow fashion. The focus shifts constantly between different scenes, different situations, that it gets annoying. Don't get me wrong, this movie never ever gets boring. But it's so slow in its pacing that sometimes you feel like you can leave the cinema, get extra popcorn, talk to the cute girl behind the counter, run and do a number three in the toilet, and then get back to your seat to find out that the movie hasn't moved anywhere at all in its plot. I mean, I feel like God from Monty Python's Holy Grail that shows up during the nun's digressing speech and yells, "Get on with it!" We want to see the action. We want to see the mystery. We want to see the tension. We want to see what makes him tick. We want to see how he handles pain. We want to see how he puts it behind him and gets badass by beating people up and breaking bones. But my God, this movie is so slow in its pacing that it can actually annoy you. And this is by far the biggest problem in the entire movie. Now, you'd ask a simple question. With all these problems, does that mean that this is a bad movie? No, it's not a bad movie. It's actually an extremely good movie. If you can get past its problems, you can get past its pacing, you can get past sometimes the sometimes stupid situations that happen, it's actually a very, very good movie. And what's of it builds on the first movie, which I believe was its purpose and its mission, which it actually succeeds in. We are able to see Robert McCall's character in a more deep view from what we saw before. We have better understanding of him. We know now where he comes from and how he can do the things he does. And we know what motivates and what drives him forward, and this adds to the experience. Combine that with some good acting from a lot of characters, minus the stupid things that happen from time to time, and you think of a good plot, an extremely good plot, which I admit could have been told better. But all in all, if you can ignore most of these flaws, you have a very, very good sequel, and one that I highly recommend to anyone to watch. If you've watched the first movie, definitely watch this. If you haven't watched the first movie and this is your introduction, go ahead, but as soon as you finish this, watch the first movie so you can feel a lot better about what happens. Personally, I would recommend this for everyone. See this movie at least once. I'm going to see it again. I've seen it like twice already, and I'm going to see it a third time. And I'm honestly looking forward and hoping that they will do a part 3 of this movie. As always, this has been Tom, the Shadow Face from N2S, and I will see you in the next review.